Hello everybody, Ben here and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're visiting York City and District Model Engineers. However, before we see the sort of ride on trains, we've got a Class 66 here with a rake of ballast hoppers, and then a Network Rail HST powered by some Colas Rail HSTs, which are in, I think, ex-LLER livery. And then also we have a Transparent Express unit leaving York. Now onto the trains. You can see here I'm driving the engine. I'm sat on the driving car. You can see we've got green signal, so that means we can go ahead. The York track here is actually, signalled properly. So if you've got a red signal, you have to stop. It's not just fake or whatever. The speed limits are there. There's 3 and 5. However, the engine I'm driving here doesn't actually have a speedometer, so I had no clue what I'm actually going at, so it's just what felt safe to me. So maybe not the best thing, but well, I didn't crash, nothing derailed, nothing went wrong as far as I'm aware. But yeah, it's just sort of slowing down in the curve so it doesn't sort of derail and doesn't feel unsafe. The track that I'm driving on currently is the ground level 7 1/4 and 5-inch gauge track. However, over there is the raised 5-inch and I believe 3.5-inch gauge track over there, which I didn't actually get a ride on. I didn't get a ride on any train. I was driving for most of it. I was just watching them go around, which was also quite fun. But driving's better, as it always is. Now a freight here, this time a GBRF Class 66. It does have a name, but I don't know what it is. But this is pulling in a rake of ballast hoppers, which we saw a lot of when I went to York for the Engage Society show. And if you want to see more of those, watch that video for that. Another Transparent Express train leaving York here, and also a freight, and also a live steam Quarry Hunslet. So this is a rake of auto ballasters with another GBRF Class 66. The great thing about the York track is obviously you got all the tracks as well, but you've got all the modern freight and passenger trains going around as well. So it's really quite fun. And also another Transparent Express unit, but this time going into York rather than leaving. I barely caught these light engine GBRF tugs, but I did catch them. And also we see a northern unit as well heading into York. Day after I've had my lunch, I managed to pick up some coaches which had the correct coupling height for this driving truck here, which seemed a bit lower to the rest of them. These are sort of wooden ones. There is 3 of them, but I think they're all articulated together with the bogies sort of shared between each wagon, as it were. Sort of all articulated, but these were quite interesting. It gave a real sort of test of how powerful the loco is, because at the most I pulled myself on the driving truck and 4 people, or maybe 5, I can't quite remember, and 2 dogs. And now I'll let you ride on the truck, on the coaches, I guess, all around the York track. It might be a bit wobbly, but that's because it's directly onto the wagon, as I'm driving it here as well. Not actually holding the camera. we've got a red signal here, so the 20s stop. Oh, we've got the train here. Yeah, that's the car. That's the driving trailer. The horn doesn't work, so we've got that one instead. That's that. We've got all of these three here. Oh, it's gone green now. Get the brake on. There we go. So on the ground level track which I'm driving on here, you have obviously a main loop, but then you've also got the junction which goes off to the shed area and also the station where you can pick up passengers. Then there's also a passing loop at the far end next to the steaming bays, which allows you to join the track from when you're obviously unloading your loco onto the car. And you've got also the level crossing as well, which you have to make sure obviously you don't get hit by a car or you don't hit a car. And you've got the signals which you can press to change these, so you can go onto the main line or you can go onto the shed area and you can go into and out of the steaming base, for example. You can see an Azuma here going past as I'm driving, which is quite an interesting thing. I also saw a Pride liveried Azuma and also a Centenary liveried Azuma, which I never realised they'd done before. The only other livery, aside from the standard linear livery I've ever seen before, is the sort of Highland one. But that was sort of interesting to see. And also LNG, whatever that stands for, powered Grand Central trains, which I thought was quite interesting. I've never seen that before either, because they've got a green stripe. To be honest, I've never even seen if anyone else had seen them, so they must be quite new, but I'm not particularly sure. So yeah, this engine here, as I've mentioned earlier, is a Class 20. I think it was built in the sort of early 90s, and yeah, it still sort of works particularly well. I think it's had a new batteries in that time, and we're just passing the junction here to go on to the the shed area. We're also on a driving truck, which I believe is a 16-ton mineral wagon. It's also got a set of brakes as well, which is what I'm using to actually control the train. Make sure I'm slowing down. You can see the set there, which I think looks quite nice. It's nice to actually pull some people. I'm not sure actually how many people this engine could pull. I've never particularly tried that, but yeah, it's quite interesting. I enjoyed driving it, as you can tell, because I've been driving around quite a lot, and I'm still not finished. Not quite. With the raised level track running alongside for a bit at a time, it's also quite fun to sort of race people. You know, we might have done that a few times. You know, sort of someone has their engine and then you catch up and then you sort of try and keep it up with each other, see who's fastest, which is a bit interesting because also then you've got to slow down. You might have noticed the make out there, by the way. And also then you've got all the points and stuff, so it's quite dangerous. It's also interesting seeing how powerful these engines are. I've seen at most on this one nearly 20 amps. I think it's about 18, 19, which is interesting because I think my controller, I think that's maybe 1 or 2 amps, so it's a lot more powerful. And then also you can pull a lot more. And I also found it funny how I've got a clown horn as my horn for the engine. There's Smallwood Junction. That goes off to the carriage sheds and the platform, as I mentioned earlier. not too dissimilar to the normal model railway controller. It's got a horn, and then the knob to increase and decrease the speed, and then a forwards, neutral, and reverse, and also a thing to show the battery health, which is obviously trying to improve the efficiency, so you know what's the most efficient. Obviously, whacking it on full on the straight isn't necessarily best, but you know, it's kind of fun. It's also interesting seeing trains on the main line going through as you're going through here through the trees. I am a member of the York Club, but also I am also a member of the Leeds Society of Model and Experimental Engineers. I'm not quite sure on the name. It's sort of LSMEE. I think what I said was right, but I'm not entirely sure. However, due to the fact we don't actually have a track anymore because we lost the track at Eggborough, we are invited sometimes to come to the York Members' Day, open days things at the track at York. So that's why I'm here. And now I'm off to the carriage sidings to drop off the wagons here. And to change the points, there's a button. So, the red signal. And then we wait for the signal to change. And we can go and drop them off. So, put the wagon / carriers away. And then the engine also this back. We haven't actually been on this before. Well, I have, but not recording earlier in the day. But this bit goes here, and it goes up a bit of a steeper hill to bring you up to the level of the carriage sidings and the platform there. And then we can drop them off, and then we'll go round to the steaming bays and pack up the engine and head off home. These are the points here, which are a bit interesting because some seem a bit less sloppy than others, and it's also a bit interesting because they've got 3 rails on some of them due to the different gauges. But yeah, there's that one point as well. I don't really need to split them twice, I'm just showing you. And now we're going to reverse back into the carriage shed. Can have a bit of a ride into that. Those are all back in the shed with various other things. So now, if the riding car and the 20 can go next, and let's put him forwards. And away we go. Just got to change the point down there, so people coming from the junction over there can get on. Final train of the day after dropping off the coaches was this double-headed Class 66 train hauling what I believe was scrap metal. Thank you for watching this video by me. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below with some video ideas or feedback. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.